Welcome to the Craft Kitchen, dearies. Today I wanted to show you the journal I made for my daughter's birthday. For this I had to step out a bit of my comfort zone because my daughter is not that much in grunge like I am. She's more the common type with books and stuff. Don't know how to say this. Yeah, made the cover and the pages myself. Of course not the scissors. And this I didn't make either, of course, but I've crocheted this lotus flower to make a pocket. Maybe, yeah, you can see a bit. Sewn on a piece of fabric, same fabric as the cover, so the scissors can slide in easily. As I said, fabric cover. And I think I've made as many, no, not that much, but many mistakes, because I'm not really comfortable with making standard books, notebooks, whatever you might want to call them. This is in fact only the second classical journal book, whatever, I've made. I've learned a lot, but yeah, glued on the wrong page, but it's okay. This is a crochet journal because my daughter is all in crocheting. I love this. These very colorful pictures I've made with a AI program, just playing around and typing in some prompts. I'm only using them for my daughter's journal because still I don't think that most free AI programs are that good in differentiating real art from free stuff. So this is what I've made for the journal. Here I've designed a project page and I've edited and printed out some crochet patterns, notes here and there. These are the shorts in German. Another note page. Notes. This is in fact a picture of really old notes of crochet slippers I found in the historical archivals of the US. I think so. As I said, only using them in private, not for selling, because I don't really know and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and find out about the terms of use, etc. Here's another. This, in fact, is a pattern I've downloaded, no, printed. There you can see the holes. I've printed out years ago for myself. Made some of these bracelets. Also a pattern from a magazine of mine. More project pages. More project, more pro. This is also a copy of a magazine pattern. And this one, the Christmas elf, I bought as a PDF and printed out like this. The German and English terms. Also a PDF I've printed out. There. British is completely different to the US. And yeah, in the following I'll show you how I made this. Oh, and yes, I think I didn't film this, I don't know. I made these end papers myself, just playing around with methyl cellulose and some acrylic paints. And because I don't have the best acrylic paints, the colors didn't turn out that well. This actually is just a copy. This is a copy of this one. I just painted this page, laid this on top and just pressed a bit. Yeah, didn't turn out that well and they're all crooked. But there is, it is a book. It is a book. You just can open like this. And that's enough for now. Have fun with the making of and see you next time. This is the book block I've made for my daughter's journal. A4 pages folded in half, designed them myself. This was a piece of cake. Some crochet patterns and some project pages, and these are in fact leftovers from packaging of furniture from IKEA. I glued on clear tape, packaging tape, to protect the edges from being glued, and I used a fine brush this time because I just wanted to glue the spine of my book. So now I'm lining all up there. Maybe you can see this. I've used two different kind of papers, only straight on one side. So now lining up the chipboard with the taped side up, of course. I've marked it so I don't have to look after my clear tape. Now that this is lined up using some, I don't know what they're used for originally. I found them in the hardware store, the clamps. These are perfect because you can use them as stands, like so. And of course you have to put them on the top too. And now we're getting to my first mistake. Just started to make a book and already made my first mistake. Well, I thought, okay, let's glue the spine together, but in fact I've made a tear-off notebook, something like this, because I just put the glue on the spine but not adhering the pages. Yes, the book block is glued together, so I was thinking. But in fact I forgot to glue on front and back the so-called white pages. When you open a book you have some blank pages to protect the book block and to combine it with the book cover. So I glued them on afterwards using a strip to protect my book block and just putting a tiny strip of glue on here and putting on my white, in this case green, papers on front and back, like so. There. And yes, this was the wrong technique, as you might see later, but yeah, I have some blank pages. So maybe you can see this. Yes, you can. These edges are absolutely not straight except of the bottom. I've used two different charges of photo paper for this, same brand, and I'll cut this straight. You can use a ruler and a really sharp knife for this. Just let the knife do its job. And if you have a really thin part to cut off, like here, it's about 1.5 to 2 millimeters, you'll end up with frayed edges naturally, but this problem can be solved. Putting on the chipboard with the rough side and just use a sand block to even your edges. Now turn the chipboard over to the taped side, and I'm gluing on some cheesecloth. I've cut it to length. In fact, it's a bit longer than I needed it. Just dabbing on some glue, pressing in the glue again, putting on some glue on the spine, and pressing it in the cloth, putting another layer of glue on here. You want to have this piece of fabric very well secured, and now I'm folding over the edges to have a neat edge when the book block is in the cover, pressing it on with my bone folder, especially used for glue. I'm going to be cutting the folded edges off later in an angle so they won't peek out. And now for the cover. I've prepared some book cloth and some cardboard for the spine and back and front. This is really sturdy. I've covered it with methyl cellulose. So now I'm marking where my cover pieces have to go. Just the start, the front cover in this case. Trying to get a right angle. And I'm using a white pencil on this, of course. So now just putting glue on the the cardstock pieces. In fact, this is 3mm, an old cover. I just cut up. Cover of an old notebook. And you have to especially take care of the edges of your cardboard. There has to be enough glue so your fabric won't just tear off. Now I'm gluing in the spine. This is a really tiny spine. I think the book block is made from 32 sheets. Yeah, 64, 68, I don't know, 64, 68 pages. Thoroughly spreading my glue on here because this is tiny, and I'm using a strip of cardboard. I've cut it in the width I do want to have for the gap between the spine and the cover. Not gluing this down, just laying it down. Yeah, the other piece of cardboard. And now gluing in the back cover, lining it up. So now turning it over, I'm using a piece of a baking paper sheet to brush this on, and then I'm taking out these cardboard strips so that they don't get glued in, because I want this to be my spine gap. The prepared cover has dried. I'm cutting the book cloth to my desired width, in this case 2.5 inches. This is the width of my ruler. And now I'm going to cut the fabric to an angle at the edges, leaving about 2 or 3 millimeters. So when I fold in the book cloth, the edges will close in by themselves. There you have it. This is actually just 2 millimeters, but it might work. And again, putting glue on the book cloth thoroughly, especially the edges and the gaps between the spine and the cover boards. Folding over, and then from the middle, starting from the middle, pressing in the book cloth in the spine gaps, like so, and I'm putting it over the edge of my table to build a crisp fold. This is dry book cloth. I'm just pre-pressing the angles of the corners, putting loads of glue on the book cloth corners, and then just using my fingernail to press them in slightly, top and bottom, and then again folding the book cloth over and pressing it down from the corners first, like so. And as you can see, the book cloth, the book corners are closing in by themselves. In fact, this edge I've cut too short, 1 millimeter too short. If I'm lucky, I can paint this with some black marker. rounding the corners a bit. So the glue will stick properly. Again, there. This is a neat corner. And of course, I forgot to record how I made these end papers myself. I've learned how to make them on YouTube. The YouTube Academy. Cutting the fabric to an angle and lining up the book block on my cover. Not only on at the spine, also all the other edges. And now you don't want to move your book block anymore. I later realized I forgot to put a protective sheet, waste paper, underneath my end papers. But I was lucky, it worked. Without gluing the book block together. No movements, just pressing in the spine of the book block to the actual spine and pressing for about 1 minute. There, and then the same on the other side. And you have to be very, very careful. Your book block is the right side up. This was when I've realized I forgot to put a protective sheet under my end paper. Doing it wrongly again, but okay. So now I'm putting in some pieces of baking paper again and then press this. This actually is the final step. You can see the end paper and the first blank sheet, in this case green sheet, are single-sided. At least the end paper is single-sided and not that nice on the back. So I'm using a trick I saw on YouTube. I'm going to be linking the YouTube channel of my bookbinding teacher down below. And now I'm just putting the tiniest strip of glue on the outer edge of my blank sheet. You have to be fast with this and just closing the book. And no one will ever see that these pages are not glued properly together. So I'm going to be seeing you for my next video when I'm back to my favorite style of bookbinding. Very grungy, very junky. Till then, stay crafty and be excellent to each other. Bye!